and welcome or welcome back to BookTube with Amy. This is going to be my weekly wrap up. Disclaimer, it's basically just going to be me talking to you about cozy mysteries because I've been on still a humongous cozy mystery binge. I feel like I have been since like last year, but it's also Marvelathon, which is being hosted by Lisa over at Lisa Does Life. So I'm trying to read a wee bit more than I usually would and really push my reading because I am on Team OG and I really want Team OG to win. So the first book I read for Marvelathon was Caught Red-Handed by Ellie Alexander, and this is the fourth book, I think? Fourth book in the Bake Shop Mystery series, and I really enjoyed this one. In this one, Juliet and her estranged husband Carlos comes back to Ashland to see if they can figure things out relationship wise, and Juliet is really pushing for Tort, her business that she owns with her mum, to get some other different business in town. So they have started doing like fresh bread deliveries in the morning. They are doing a thing called Sunday suppers where people can book tickets and come for like a meal essentially on a Sunday to try and really push their income. I really like this installment for a few different reasons. I thought that it was interesting to see how Carlos was with Juliet being in Ashland. This is the first time really that we saw them interact with each other in like a normal environment, because in the last book when he popped up they were like away in the woods, away from everybody and just trying to like work an event, whereas this time things are a wee bit more settled and so their relationship is a wee bit different. And Juliet, I feel in this book is sort of coming round to Carlos a wee bit, even though I, as a reader, definitely am not. I am Team Thomas, like 1000%, and I feel like I'm the jinx. Like when I ship the ship, it dies immediately, but like I'm Team Thomas all the way. I don't like Carlos. I think he's a lying scumbag. I think that he is great when it comes to a grand gesture, but he's not actually there for the small stuff and the stuff that actually matters in a relationship, like trust and loyalty and support. And I really didn't like him. But this was a really good installment in it. It was super cosy and we spent a lot of time with the younger guys in this book as well, so sort of feel like Sterling and Stephanie, and it was really nice to get to spend a wee bit more time with them. I really enjoyed it. This is a 5-star. And so then next I read Fudge and Jury by Ellie Alexander. In the last book they were talking about a chocolate convention that happens in Ashland that Tort had been asked to be like a featured retailer at basically, and so they were like trying to come up with these different recipes, and then I saw that this one was called Fudge and Jury and there's a big chocolate cake on the front, and I knew for the last book that they were making their signature chocolate cake because that's how invested I am in the tiny wee details of this book, and I was like, I bet you the next one's set at the chocolate convention, and it was, so I needed to read it immediately. This was brilliant, and actually a really exciting installment of the book. We're sort of a multi-site in this one because Juliet and her mum are running the convention and doing everything that they need to do there, and so Sterling and Stephanie, and I always forget the other guy's name and I didn't know why, Andy, because he's cracking. So the three of them are sort of running the bake shop so that Juliet and her mum are freed up to go and do what they need to do. But this one's very interesting because like being a cozy mystery, normally you can pinpoint who the killer is, or you've got a rough idea, or it's maybe like a twist and it's not who you expected, but like the reveal is never the focus. But this one I found the case to be so interesting, and because it was all about food, and obviously I am a big foodie, but there are some like serious food facts in here when it comes to like allergies and stuff like that I had no idea about, and so I just found that very interesting. But also it was just cool to be multi-site, and we had a lot of different characters coming into this one because we had a lot of local people who were coming to Ashland or like out with coming to be featured retailers or to take part, and there's a bit of a competition here as well, so you've got like some competitors who we haven't met before, and that was really interesting, and it just gave it sort of a wee fresh twist with the past few books just really been focusing on the same set of characters, know that I mind that in a cosy mystery. But aye, this is a phenomenal instalment also. This is a 5-star. So I decided then that I was going to take a wee break from my cosy mystery streak and no just binge like the next few, because Simon bought me the next 4 in the series and I had already read 2 of them, so I only had 2 left to read. So I decided that I was going to read Part of Your World, A Twisted Tale by Liz Braswell. Now this is on my seriously need to finish this challenge for the year, and I also put it on my shelf destruct challenge for the year because I just felt like I needed some extra motivation. In case you're new to the channel or you don't already know, I was supposed to continue this series last year as part of my I seriously need to finish this challenge, and I just didn't pick it up. I read As Old as Time and I really didn't enjoy it, and so I've just been put off picking anything else up in this series. But I thought, yeah, it's best chance. If I'm going to like any of them, I'm going to like the Ariel one, so that was the one that I was going to pick up next, but then I just like procrastinated on it too much and I just didn't pick it up last year at all because I was sort of put off. So this year I decided that I was going to try and make it a focus, which is why it was on my 2 lists. Give myself an extra wee nudge. I also thought this is like a middle grade-ish or like lower end YA fantasy, so I thought it would be a quick read for Marvelathon as well. However, I ended up DNFing this, so I just really didn't enjoy it. To be totally honest with you, I didn't get very far in. I think I read like the first few chapters, which is the equivalent to maybe like 20 pages, but I just could tell it wasn't going to be for me and it was going to be a bit of a slog for me to try and get through it. And I'm just not doing that this year. I'm not going to be reading books for the sake of reading books. I did that a wee bit last year. I mean, I still DNF'd, but only like if it was really terrible. There was a few books last year, specifically for read-alongs and stuff, that I forced myself through so that I could get the points for them, or like just so that I could say that I had read them or whatever. But I am not doing that this year, so this was a DNF. So I mean, it's a shelf destruct book off my shelf, which I'm pleased about. I have a sentimental attachment to these books though, because Simon always got these from Asda when he was away doing the messages, and he collected them for me like over years and years. Like anytime he was away doing the shopping and there was a new one, he would get it for me, and he would always pick them for me for like special occasions, and he'd always like write cute wee notes in the front of them for me. And so like I'm just very sentimentally attached, so I'm going to keep all these books on my shelf, but I am not going to read them, which might seem like a waste, but I like just that we get each other books for special occasions and we always tend to write something in them, so it's like the books are also wee memories of like that life event, if that makes any type of sense. But this was a DNF. I wouldn't read any of the Twisted Tale series. The 2 that I have tried have been by Liz Braswell, in fairness. I know there's Jen Cantalina and Elizabeth Lynn who also write in the Twisted Tale series. Maybe if I tried one by one of the other authors that I would enjoy it. If you have read any by any of the other authors and you feel like they are quite different to the Liz Braswell ones, please let me know in the comments and maybe you'll sway me into picking another one up. But for now, these are DNF'd. They're off my seriously list. It's off my shelf destruct list. It's done so. And so then to cheer myself up, after quite a crappy reading experience, I read A Crime of Passion Fruit by Ellie Alexander. Is anybody shocked? Nah. So this one is actually again quite a different book for the series so far. So Carlos is back on the cruise ship at this point. Him and Juliet have decided they're going to take some time to try and figure out what it is that they want, because Carlos doesn't really want to settle down anywhere, especially no in Ashland, and Juliet doesn't really want to go back to the hustle bustle life of being on the cruise ships and no really putting down roots. So they're at quite an impasse with where they are with their relationship and what they want out of their futures. So Carlos is back in the cruise ship in this one, and his pastry chef has up and quit, and they're really struggling to get another pastry chef out for quite some time. So he asks Juliet to fill in. Of course she says no, because she doesn't want to leave Tort and leave her mum to handle everything. But he's like, look, listen, why don't you come do this? We're going to pay you like triple time or whatever. It'll give you a decent amount of money to reinvest back into Tort, and also bring your mum and her boyfriend, the professor, and then they can get like a free holiday doing it as well as an extra wee incentive. So this takes place on a cruise ship, which is a very, very different setting, and I did enjoy this one. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the last one, to be honest, but probably just because there was quite a lot of Carlos in here, and I am not a Carlos fan, but I really liked the direction that him and Juliet's relationship took in this book. So Juliet really sticks up for herself and what she wants, and you know, Carlos is such a sweet talker, and I think he could talk the hind legs off a donkey, and so sometimes when she tries to put across what she wants or why she feels a certain way, he just talks and talks and talks and like almost tries to talk her into his way of thinking. And so in this book she really does put her foot down. Like being back on the cruise ship, she realises that it's not quite as good as the memories of being on the cruise ship, and she's not having as great a time as what she always used to think she did, that actually she much prefers being in Ashland, working in tour and investing in her future, I guess, and being her own boss and no making money for somebody else. And also one of the biggest things that she learns through being back onto the cruise ship is, because she's like the head pastry chef, she was actually managing people more than she was baking and cooking, whereas back home in Ashland, like, she's able to cook and she's able to bake, and that's something that she actually really enjoys and why she got into the job in the first place. So she just has a wee bit more time to do that in Ashland, which is a big impact on her as well. And so she's very clear with Carlos in this one that, you know, the future on the ship isn't what she wants at all, and that she thinks that maybe the relationship they had also wasn't the best relationship, because they never actually handled or dealt with any realistic big things together, and it was all sort of feel like jumping from one place to another on these cruise ships, that it was like a permanent honeymoon. And you know, when the real issues hit and she found out he had a son and stuff, like they just didn't deal with it very well. Like he was never able to actually talk to her about that, and so it just made her reflect a lot on their relationship, that maybe that also wasn't as great as our glorifying memories were making it to be. And we met some other characters in here as well who were very funny. This one I feel like deals with some darker topics. I mean, they all deal with murder, so like can be dark, but for a cosy mystery I just feel like this series really handles heavy topics very well. And so in this one specifically we deal with the topic of sex work, and how it is difficult for anybody who has been in the adult entertainment industry or from a sex work background to actually get a job no doing that, if that's something that they decide is no longer for them. And there's a character in here who essentially tries to help adult dancers, adult performers who have decided that that's no longer the career for them, get a legitimate job dancing on the cruise ship, but they sort of need to fudge their resumes and stuff a wee bit because the cruise ship is very against that. And so I feel like that was also handled very well and done in a really sensitive way, and we get to meet and talk to some of these girls as well, very briefly about their experiences and stuff, but such an interesting topic, and I think that it deals with it fantastically. And I think that if you have a negative view on sex work or the adult entertainment industry and the type of people who would choose to do that for a job, this book would maybe shake that foundation of your belief a wee bit. And considering like the target audience for a cosy mystery tends to be your older readers who maybe have maybe their conservative views, I think that it's really bold Ellie Alexander as an author to include things like this into her works and to try and, you know, change somebody's way of thinking with things like this. It was very reminiscent of how Charlene Harris does it, because it didn't come across as preachy. It was just characters that you've grown to know and like, and then you find out stuff about them and it makes you maybe a wee bit more understanding of somebody's background, and I thought that was fantastic. This is a 5-star read for me and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So naturally I then went on and read another one, Bites the Crust by Ellie Alexander. And I don't remember what volume this is at this point. What, 3, 4, 5, 6? So this is 7. And I had only planned to read like the next 2 this year, and I've read up to 7, but it's fine. It's alright. So this one, another one, Bites the Crust. We're back in Ashland Oh, and I forgot to mention, by the way, I was absolutely sobbing in the last book. Let me bring it back because it deserves its moment while I tell you this. So, in A Crime of Passion Fruit, we know fae a good few previous books ago that the Professor, who's Juliet's mum's boyfriend, has been thinking about proposing to her. And he speaks to Juliet first because he wants to make sure that she would be alright with that. Now, Juliet's dad died when she was quite young, and so she's been without her dad for a long time. And Juliet is like so happy and so supportive of her mum and the Professor's relationship that she was like 1000%, please propose, as long as you are happy, like I'm so happy. And it's sort of been drawn out for a few books because I guess it never just really seemed like the right time. In fairness to the Professor, he's also the chief of police, and so like when there's a bajillion murders going on, I guess he's been kept quite busy, and he's been thinking about retiring and taking a step back. And so at the end of this book, he decides that it's finally the time to propose. They've had this holiday together, dream cruise, they've never been away together before, they're both just totally relaxed and away from work, and he feels like it's the right time to finally pop the question. And he does, and I was howling, let me tell you. But then also, like, they call him the Professor, even though he's like the chief of police, he's not actually a teacher, because he's so obsessed with Shakespeare. And like, I mean, the whole town of Ashland is, but like him especially, and he just loves Shakespeare's works and he studies them and can like quote them at the drop of the hat. And he proposed, and he used one of my favourite quotes for Hamlet, which is, doubt thou the stars are fire, doubt thou the sun doth move, doubt truth to be a liar, but never doubt a love. And I was just like howling, so happy for them, absolutely buzzing. So back to another one bites the crust. So I actually read most of them in the one day because I was off work, and so I was just reading them, and then I knew we were sprinting in the evening, so I read this entirety on sprints, and I finished this one on sprints, which is brilliant. So this one was a really good instalment as well, and again I'm going to say quite different. But one of our main characters in here, Lance, who we have gotten to know over the course of the series, is actually suspected of foul play in this one, and he is arrested on suspicion of murder. So Lance, he runs the theatre company in Ashland, and he's a big drama queen about it, and he doesn't really like anybody else getting involved. He's quite a control freak. He likes things done a certain way, and that tends to rub people up sometimes. However, he just does what he needs to, and the company's always been profitable, and so they just sort of feel let him away with it. And like, it's just the type of person he is, so you really do love it. And in this one, he hires an actor who gets a bit big for his boots and is trying to take over and almost nudge Lance out a wee bit, which Lance does not enjoy, and they have quite a public argument at an event that they are hosting for the launch of the new season of the theatre show. And then the actor turns up dead, so Lance is suspected of the murder. Again, this book handles some pretty heavy topics, probably heavier than any of the books that we've dealt with before, and I think that it was done phenomenally. There are parts in here where we have amazing conversations about mental health. Obviously we have conversations about Lance's mental health because, you know, he's not in the best place. He has been arrested, suspected of murder, which of course is going to mess you up a wee bit, so we deal with his mental health regarding that. But we also deal with his mental health on the run up to this event, because he's been quite reserved for himself, he's been quite distant, he's pulled back from his community around him and some of his friends, and he's not really being as communicative as he usually would be. And so we talk a lot about his mental health in the run up to this event, and also if maybe his mental health was a reason or played a part in if he did murder this person. And we also deal with Stephanie's mental health in here. So Stephanie is essentially a sous chef who works at Tor, and Juliet has spent a lot of time training Stephanie on a lot of the sweet stuff. She's really good with pastry, whereas she spends a lot of time with Sterling on the savoury stuff and the actual cooking. But Stephanie does all the pastry. She works at Tor she's learning all this stuff about the pastry, she's trying to take on more responsibility there because it's something that she really does enjoy, but she's also studying alongside that, and with everything else that's going on, she's really struggling to sort of shut off, get a good night's sleep and just relax at all, which I'm sure is something everybody can relate to. And so we speak a lot about Stephanie's mental health in here as well, and almost like the responsibility your workplace and your friends and your family and everything to check in and make sure that you're doing all right. And I just think, again, handled phenomenally. And ultimately in this book we deal with the topic of race, and you know, it really hit home. There are some really right-wing nutjob activists in this book, and while it doesn't play a huge part on the story until the very end of the book, it really hit home for me because it's just so prevalent in today's society that demographic is growing. You know, it speaks to everything that has happened over the past couple of years with all the George Floyd stuff and Black Lives Matter. You know, it is prevalent at the moment with everything that is happening with all the trans rights and drag rights and everything that is happening in America, and to an extent over here as well. In Scotland specifically, we obviously just had the gender reform bill, and that brought every transphobic nutjob in their dug out to play. And it's just sort of been feeling very dark and very dense and very hopeless for a wee while here. Sorry, this is getting quite heavy, but it has, and this book just felt very prevalent to that. But you know, we've got to stay positive, keep fighting the good fight, like do what we can to try and help and support these communities and raise them up. So I really did enjoy this. It was a great instalment. It was a 5-star read for me, but a bit heavier than the other ones. And that is me. I've ran out Ellie Alexander so far. I read the 4 that Simon bought me literally last month. So bad. And then, whilst I was also on sprints on Lisa's channel, I read Captain America, Steve Rogers' Hail Hydra. I haven't read a lot of Captain America graphic novels, although I do really love Captain America. When I gravitate towards a graphic novel, I don't know why, but I'm always like Deadpool, Wolverine, Batman, like God knows. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. So this is almost like a alternate reality Captain America. So Captain America in this skin has been brainwashed, and he is effectively a double agent working for Hydra and is manipulating S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers and Captain Marvel and, you know, any other Marvel agencies basically to do S.H.I.E.L.D.'s bidding. And it was just very interesting the way that this has been done as well, because like I was saying earlier about all the absolute fascism and hatred that is happening at the moment, in this book we do deal with that to an extent. There's a lot of Hydra in here trying to indoctrinate people against asylum seekers and against immigration and against anybody that isn't white basically. And I think that you can see in here that they target the most vulnerable people, and it's absolutely how groups like this get backing and get support, and then the bigger they are, they almost get legitimacy just because of their size and the sheer number of them, which is absolutely fucking ridiculous. But in here they also implant fake memories into loads of people's heads as well, so that they feel like they have this illustrious relationship with Hydra, and the Hydra really came and supported them at some point in their life, which is obviously not true or accurate. But the way that they tend to indoctrinate people in here I just found to be very interesting, and again unfortunately quite prevalent to what is happening a lot today, in terms of still, you know, in the UK, all the fucking Brexit argument is still raging, and you know, the arguments at the moment about asylum and, you know, people coming here on boats for unsafe countries. And then also, like, I feel like it can link to all the Andrew Tate stuff as well, because he's like indoctrinating loads of young boys that it's fine to be an absolute cunt to women, and that women don't deserve rights. So it just felt like these were very thematically appropriate, even though, like, you probably wouldn't peg a cute cosy mystery set in a bakery and a Captain America graphic novel hitting similar themes, but I feel like they did. So This is a 5-star. I really did enjoy it. The artwork in here was very cool. It was actually very funny at points. It wasn't just all hard-hitting stuff. There was a lot of like pop culture references in here, and I really did enjoy that. The characters were brilliant. Obviously they're the Marvel characters that we know and love, and almost everybody is in here, so I thoroughly enjoyed this one as well. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you're enjoying everything you're reading at the moment. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!